Hello, this is Miss Schrader. Today we are going to be looking at some examples of pop art. My students, you're going to need a piece of paper and something to write with. You're taking notes, and when you're done, you're going to give me 10 strong sentences about what you've learned about pop art. So, pop art is an art movement that emerged in England and the United States during the mid to late 1950s. The movement presented a challenge to traditional traditions of fine art by including imagery from popular and mass culture, thus the word pop art. And often it looks like advertisement or comic books or mundane mass produced objects. One of its aims is to use images of popular culture and art, emphasizing the banal or kitschy elements of any culture, most often through the use of irony. So you're supposed to be kind of laughing at it because it's so corny and things like that. The piece that we are looking at right now is by Charles Demuth. It's called I Saw the Figure Five in Gold, and it is currently in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And, it's supposed to be kind of funny and silly and ridiculous. This piece is called Just What Is It That Makes Today's Homes So Different and Appealing? That is the name of this piece. It's done by Richard Hamilton. It was done in 1956, and it's supposed to be a joke. It's taking a lot of very popular images of the time. The man was a very famous bodybuilder of the time, so most people would know who he was then. The woman was a famous model of the time. The picture in the background is an advertisement. Even the stuff outside the window is an advertisement. So it's all made to show a lot of things that people would recognize and put together in a way that is supposed to be hysterically funny. One of the things that makes pop art so popular is that they often do prints of it. So you could buy a picture of this for $40 if you really liked it and put it up in your house. And the artist will have his original, which is in a museum, and then 100 copies of this that they sell that's making them extra money. This piece is called Drowning Girl, or I Don't Care, I'd Rather Sink. It's from 1963. It was done by Roy Lichtenstein. It is oil and synthetic polymer paint on canvas. And it's supposed to look like something in a comic strip where the girl who is waiting for the hero to come and save her has decided, I'd rather not be saved. I'd rather die than be saved by this guy. And it's supposed to look like a comic strip. It's supposed to look silly. And thus, people who enjoy comic strip type things are going to enjoy it. And once again, along with the original painting, which is in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, lots of copies were made and sold. This piece is a sculpture. It's called Pesupo Lua Afe, or Corned Beef 2000. It is a sculpture done with tin and rivets by Michel Puveri, done in 1994. And it's basically a life-size statue of a bull, and he's covered with the labels for corned beef. So he is corned beef, supposedly, and he's covered with the labels for corned beef. And so, once again, it's considered to be funny and ridiculous. Um, and this piece, I believe, is in New Zealand. This is a piece by Gary Grayson, and it's called Pop for the obvious reasons. And this is done to be made as a print so that you can buy them online. In fact, this one sells for $4.76 online. This piece is called Fallen Astronaut. It's by Paul van Hoyendonk. And it was done in 1971. It is made of aluminum. It is a sculpture. It is 3.5 inches in length. So this is a very small piece. And it was commissioned in secret to be placed on the moon to memorialize um, astronauts who had died, and the lessons are in the preparation to do moon work. And so, as you can see, it's this tiny little, looks like a tiny little figure of an astronaut fallen over, and it is actually on the moon, along with a plaque explaining it. This piece is called My God, Help Me to Survive This Deadly Love, and it is by the Russian artist Dmitry Vrubel. It was done in 1990. It's a graffiti piece. I've actually seen this piece. Um, it is showing on the left Leonid Brezhnev, who was at one time the prime minister of Russia, the Soviet Union, and on the right, Erich Honecker, who was the governor of East Germany, and it is showing them kissing. So these two men at one time were big communist leaders, and this piece of art is on a remaining piece of the wall in Berlin when communism fell in Germany. The Berlin Wall, they tore down a lot of it, but parts of it was left up, and they invited artists from all over the world to paint on there. And this is one of the pieces. It's a very famous piece. Um, and it is actually based on a photograph. The most famous pop artist was Andy Warhol. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about him next time, but I wanted to give at least one example of a piece of his work. This is his Campbell's Tomato Juice Box from 1964. This is a painting. It is synthetic polymer paint and silkscreen ink on wood. It's 10 inches by 19 inches. And he made dozens and dozens and dozens of copies of this, which was hugely successful. People wanted to own this painting. And once again, keep in mind that pop art is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be very recognizable, and it's just supposed to be silly. All right, so we have been talking a little bit about pop art. My students, you are giving me 10 strong sentences about what you found interesting, unusual, and educational about pop art. Thank you.